Now, yesterday or before that, let me do a quick recap. What we have done so far. Basically, what we have talked about till now is that what are the challenges that you will run into if you are running a physical environment. This is what we spoke about. We then spoke about that how hypervisor can assist you with the above challenges that we spoke about earlier. Yeah. We then, before that even, we spoke about the training. We spoke about that, what we will be covering, and we spoke about the certifications, which are involved and how to get them. We spoke about the lab, that we would be offering you. And then, yeah, then we basically started off talking about the physical challenges. Why would you need a hypervisor? Then we spoke about the different kinds of hypervisor, which is type 1 and type 2. We then looked further in type 1 and we spoke about the terms sharing of resources. We spoke about the term over commitment, that what does it mean and how does it help you. Okay. Then we looked into the architectures, that how does a type 1 architecture look like and a type 2 architecture looks like. We then talked about history of ESXi, how it was developed, what were the versions, what were the challenges earlier. We then spoke about how would you be building out a lab. Okay. We spoke about that, what are the components required, how would you be building out a lab, which machines are required, how do we connect them internally, how do we set up a DNS, DHCP. We spoke about all those options. Then we spoke about that if you have to install ESXi, what are the things that you have to keep in mind? Okay, we spoke about the options, about the hardware compatibility. We spoke about um, the ISO, from where are you going to get it? And then once the ESXi was installed, we spoke about DCUI, which is Direct Console User Interface. And here we spoke about that, how do you assign a static IP? How do you power off ESXi and, reboot it? We spoke about all those options. Then we spoke about how do you create a basic VM, a very basic VM on an ESXi, and what the options are. We yesterday discussed about all the options. And this is what we have done so far, in our training. Okay. So before we proceed, anyone has any questions, anything that you would like to ask? Okay. So today I have an ESXi, which we have already built. And now
Yeah,
I need, go for it.
yeah. Any other challenges which we unknown about that?
As in, I did not get your question. Can you please elaborate?
Any other challenges which face later or something else?
Any other challenges, as in challenges in what? I did not get your
Uh,
question.
Means what I said. Compatibilities like errors during the installation, during the work.
No, there were no errors. I mean, it's a plain, simple installation that we are doing. And it's not very complicated that, you will run into errors or you would have some issues. The only thing that you need to take care about is making sure that your hardware is compatible. You get a ISO from your vendor, and that's about it. You would
Okay.
not have any installation errors per se that you have to troubleshoot or you have to look into. Okay. So yesterday we created a virtual machine. Okay. And now we are going to install the operating system over here. That is what we want to do. Now on this virtual machine, we will be installing a Windows 2019 server. This is what our intention is. Okay. And I can also quickly create one more VM to show you that we can also install the client operating systems. So for example, I'll mention VM 200. Here we spoke about what the compatibility option is yesterday. And here in the operating system, I can choose a Windows operating system, and I can also choose a Windows 7, for example, or a Windows, different version that I have to choose. I can even do that. I need to specify that, where on which data store I would be mapping it. So we have already created data stores, in our previous classes. So to answer your question, Vishnu, I mean, hypervisor comes with a trial version of 60 days, 60 days. And after that, you have to put in a license key. So for first 50 days, I mean, it'll all be working okay for you. You would have no issues over there.
Is it still the same as VMware Broadcom has changed it, or still we got 60 days to try?
Still, you've got 60 days to try. No concerns over there.
Okay.
Okay. So here I'm going to show you about the installation that, you can also install a Windows 7 machine as well. So I'll basically kick off this installation and I want to show you, how this is done. So I've got this VM200, and what I will do, I will basically power on this machine over here. Now, when I power on this machine, I need to know what is running in this machine. So when you power on a VM, you would like to know what is running. So for that, you need to click on this black window, this black box that you see over here. You need to simply click on it. Okay. When you click on it, a box is going to open up, which is sort of a console for the virtual machine. And here you would see that, it is trying to boot, because when a machine powers on, it is basically looking for booting files so that, it can boot up the operating system. Now, this is a new VM wherein I do not have any OS which is installed over here. So what I need to do, the intention is I need to map an operating system. So all that I have to do is I have to basically map ISO file with this VM so that I can install the operating system. How would I do that? It's very simple. You click on the actions button over here on the top, and then you edit the virtual machine. And then you need to expand the option for CD drive. Here, you are basically saying that where is the ISO? So I am basically saying that I've kept the ISO on a data store. Okay. And I would see over here that I've got a Windows 7 32-bit ISO that I've already uploaded. Okay. So I would basically map that ISO. All that I'm doing is I'm mapping the ISO with the virtual machine so that I can install the operating system. That is what the intention is over here. And then I will hit the save button. Now, when I hit the save button, my virtual machine is going to stay over here. So what I need to do, I need to hit a reboot so I can send in a control alt delete, which will basically restart my operating system. So I would come over here and you would see, send keys, and you can just send in control alt delete, which will basically restart your machine. And now this should pick up the operating system ISO. And there you see that, Windows is loading files. Now, what I am doing over here is I am installing the operating system, which is Windows 7 in this example. Okay. Now, if you install Windows 7 on a physical desktop, or if you install Windows 7 on a virtual machine, the process remains the same. Keep in mind, if you are installing an operating system within a virtual machine, it does not mean that VMware is going to alter some changes, or VMware is going to modify the ISO, or inject something in the operating system. Absolutely not. Okay. Only the platform has changed. Earlier, you were installing the operating system directly on a desktop. Now you are installing it on a virtual machine. It is only the platform from desktop to virtual which has changed. Apart from that, everything else remains the same. So in the operating system, be absolutely sure about it that we are not changing anything over here. Okay. the OS, the ISO remains the way it has been. Now, what would happen is I need to initiate my operating system installation over here. This is what I need to do. Now here, sometimes you might come across that the mouse is not as responsive as it is. Sometimes, you might find the mouse is, giving some issues. So you can also use the keyboard and, you can proceed with the installation. So here I am going to choose the default options, that we have in Windows. Nothing fancy, nothing out of the box that I'm trying over here. So keeping the simple options, and then we will begin with the installation over here. So let's wait for a minute for the installation to begin. And then I would show you that, how I can install the other operating system. So I want to show you that if you have a Windows server or if you have a client operating system, basically any operating system that you would like to install, it goes very smooth and there are no challenges over here. Okay. And now you see that, Windows has started copying the files and basically it has started with the operating system installation. Okay. Now, while this operating system installation is going on, I would like to show you something else as well. Okay. So what happens is that if you go to Google, for example, and you type VMRC over here, okay, you would get the first console, which is download VMware vSphere VMRC. Okay, this is an EXE file that you will get for Windows. You also, it is available for Linux and it is also available for the Mac operating system. Now, you need to install this file on your local machine. So for example, if you are accessing the ESXi from a Linux machine, then you need to download this package on your Linux machine. If you are accessing it from a Windows machine, then you install this package on a Windows machine, and same is available for the Mac operating system. Okay. So what I've done over here is I've downloaded this package. Okay. And then if I take you to my add and remove programs, all that I've done over here is that I've installed this package over here, which is called VMware Remote Console. So it's a simple next kind of a thing. Nothing major that you have to do. Okay. So this is the package that you see over here. When you will download from VMware, this is what you will get. Just make a right click, click on run as admin, and just proceed with the installation of next, and that's about it. And this will get installed on your local machine. Okay, this is what you need to do. It is already installed. That is why it is giving me. Now, why do you need this package? Okay, so basically what would happen is you have got two options with you. So when I say that you have to open a console, so let's say you created a VM and now you would like to know what is running in that VM. So think about it. If you have a desktop, only a CPU with no monitor, no mouse, no keyboard, nothing. I power on the CPU and I have it on the network connectivity. How would you get to know what is running on the desktop? I mean, has the operating system booted up? Has it not booted up? How would you get to know what is running on the desktop? So for that, you have to basically connect a monitor to basically understand that, what is the state of the booted machine. Similarly, for a virtual machine, when you have to open the console, the first that I showed you over here right now was clicking on that black box. Okay. When you click on that black box, what would happen is, this window over here, it would open up a console for you. This is a very basic console window that comes up. I also have one more option with me, which is called VMRC, Virtual Machine Remote Console. Virtual Machine Remote Console is an option wherein a new box is going to come up. So let me show that to you. So what would happen over here is when you go to the virtual machine, when you click on console, you see this option over here, launch remote console. Click on this tab over here. And then it says that, Are you sure that you want to open that console in that application that you have installed? And you say yes. So you need to accept the license over here. And now you see that I've got a different console altogether. I've got two consoles over here. So this console over here is the basic web console. And this console over here is basically VMRC. Okay. So you have two ways that you can see what is running in the operating system in a virtual machine. You can try the web option, which is straight and simple. You also have a VMRC. VMRC basically gives you a flexibility wherein you could, map the ISO. You can do a couple of more things over here as well. Okay. You have this option of, shutting down, powering on. You have this send control or delete, and you've got these different options as well. So both the options are available for you. Whichever one you are comfortable with, you can, have that console, and then you can, start the installation of the operating system and monitor as well. So this is what you can do. Okay. Now, let me talk about the other installation. Now, let me kick off the other installation. So let me duplicate this tab over here. So right now, I initiated the installation of a Windows 7 machine. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to power on a VM100 machine, any name that you can give. This is my lab, so I'm trying out these fancy names of VM100 or VM200. Whatever you are comfortable with, you can do that. Okay. Here, I'll open the console. Okay, I would say launch remote console. For this VM100, this is what I'm doing over here. Okay. Now, for Windows 2019, I already have an ISO over here. Okay, this ISO, I have also uploaded it on the data store. But end of the day, this is all about mapping. So you need to map the ISO to the virtual machine. This is what the intention is. So let me show you a different way now on how you can install the operating system. So a different way is when you open the VMRC console, when you go to the first tab over here for the VMRC, you go to the manage button over here, and then you will see an option over here of virtual machine settings over here. You go to the virtual machine settings over here, and then you would see an option for CD DVD drive. Okay. I will change this to local client. This is, I am basically saying that on my client, I have the ISO, and then I would say use the ISO image file. And now over here, I can go to my downloads and I can map the Windows 2019 ISO. This is what I can do. Okay. And I'll simply hit the OK button. I'll map the ISO, wait for a second or two for that mapping to happen in the background. And then I will hit Control Alt Delete. And basically, I am trying to reboot the virtual machine again. And then you see the option, if you want to boot from CD, press any key now, the typical Windows message. And now I am booting from my ISO. So this time I did not map the ISO from the data store. I had the ISO on my local machine, and from there I basically decided to map it. End of the day, keep in mind your intention is to map ISO. There are few more ways, that you can do it, but you have to just map an ISO to a virtual machine and kick off the installation. This is all that you need to do. How do you map the ISO? Like I mentioned, there are a few ways around. Whichever one you are most comfortable with, whichever one is most easier for you, go ahead and do that. Okay. There is no difference that if you choose this option, the operating system installation will happen quickly, or there would something happen, or your machine will run okay. Nothing of that sort. Both the installations are, equal. So whichever one you are comfortable with, you can do that. Doubts, confusion, questions so far, if you have any.
How many machines we can install at the same time?
There is no limit. It depends on how many you can map. If you want to map 3, 4 VMs, you can do that.
Okay, with the same ISO.
Yes, it should work. There should be no concern.
So say the current host or ESX you're using, what version is it?
Version 8,
Okay.
the latest.
And the physical hardware, if you don't mind, can you share with us what is it?
So end of the day, it depends on how you are building out your lab.
Mm,
Now, we do not have a physical infrastructure to share with everyone. Generally, what would happen is that in a real production environment, you would have a server from HP, you would have a server from Dell, and
mm,
then you would install ESXi directly on top of it.
mm.
And then what you will do is you will connect your storage with it. Okay.
vSAN or yeah.
You would have a physical sandbox like a Dell EMC or a Pure Storage, something. And then you will
Yeah.
carve out portions of, some storage and you will present it to your ESXi. Now here, this is something that we cannot do in lab because this is too expensive.
Mm,
Even if you take the official training from VMware, there they also give you virtual ESXis. They do not give you physical ESXis, even though if you take a official
mm,
training from VMware. So what
mm,
we have done in our lab is that we have created a machine. On that machine, we have a Windows 10 operating system or a Windows 2019, any operating system. And then we have installed VMware Workstation. Yeah, we have installed
mm.
VMware Workstation. And in that VMware Workstation, we are basically creating multiple virtual machines. And we are interconnecting all of them together so that these machines can be part of the same network. And then I can build my lab. This is what we are doing over here. Okay. So it all depends, how much RAM, how much CPU you have on your physical machine to build the environment. So the machines that we are providing, you know, to you in the lab, they have 64 GB of RAM. They have
Mm.
at least 8 physical cores, good amount of hard drive. So all that we are providing you. Does that answer your question, Omar?
Yeah, yeah. So we will not need vCenter in this environment, right? It was purely from
We will need it. So as we are in the early days of our training, I have
yeah.
not covered the topic of vCenter. We
Mm.
will be talking about everything. So we are basically
It will be part
covering
of the course.
absolutely. So we are
Okay.
basically covering vSphere 8 ICM. This is what we are covering. So whatever
Mm.
is mentioned in this course over here, we will be talking about everything over here. And we will be talking about few more things which are not mentioned over here as well. So yeah, we
Great.
will be talking about everything. So don't worry about it.
One last question. In production, for example, you want to deploy over 50 machines, rather than using the way you're using, is there a script? What would you advise, for example, in that sort of scenario? In the event you have a cluster, you want to deploy
So
certain machines,
if you
will
have
you be
50
doing this simple
VMs,
click? Yeah.
so if you have 50 VMs that you need to deploy, so
Mm.
what we can do is that, we can create a template.
Okay.
So what is a template? So think about it. Let's say that you build the first machine, you install Windows 2019 on it, you patch the operating system as required. Any any software that is required by your organization, you install that application. Whatever basic settings that you need to do in the operating system, you do it. Okay. This is your first machine, and this machine is now okay. This is the right state of your virtual machine. What you
After you
do,
customized everything you need.
correct. As per
Okay.
your specification, you have created this VM. Now what you do is you basically create a copy of this virtual machine and you create
Mm,
50 copies over here. This is what you will do.
mm.
So you do not have to do this manual step again. All that you are doing
Okay.
is you are copying the virtual machine, and less than 5 minutes, your new virtual machine will be ready. This is something that you can do. Okay. We also have an option when you install Windows, there is something called as a SID, which is security identifier. Okay. Now, when you create a copy of a VM1 to VM2, basically the SID will remain the same. So I need to change the SID. So in VMware, I've got something called as OS customization. So there I can even change the SID for you. So when these machines are added to AD, there would be no challenges over there as well. So there is inbuilt automation available on the vCenter that I will be talking about in the training. And I would show you that, how I can change the SID, how the customization needs to happen, how do you copy. Yeah, we will be talking about all those points over there, Omar.
Amazing. Thanks very much.
No problem. Any other query you have, buddy? Okay. So over here, we see that the operating system installation I need to kick off. So my OS has kind of booted up. I will choose the operating system that I would like to deploy. Hit next. Accept the license agreement, whether you like it, you don't like it, you have to agree. Okay. All right. The next thing that I would like to talk about after the operating system installation is done, what do I do next? Okay, let me answer that question now. So for example, if you have a desktop at home and on this desktop, for example, you decided to install Windows 10 or for example, Windows 11. Okay. After the operating system installation is done, you have to install the drivers. Drivers for what? Drivers for video, USB, motherboard, controller, audio, network, and a few more, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So all these drivers are basically needed on your machine right after the installation of the operating system. Now, if you are installing a Windows 10 or a Windows 11 on a desktop, Windows is intelligent enough to automatically find the drivers. You do not have to do anything, and it will automatically recognize the drivers, that your machine requires. Now, for on a physical machine, this is perfect. That a Windows 10 is able to find the drivers and it works well. But the question is, when I create a virtual machine and when I install Windows 10, how will Windows 10 get the drivers? Because Windows 10 has no way to figure out that is it running on a physical machine or is it running on a virtual machine. Windows 10 has no way of figuring that out. Okay. So Windows 10 is basically looking for the same drivers again: video, USB, audio, network, motherboard, controller, and blah, blah, blah. All those drivers it needs again. Now the question is, how will Windows 10 get the drivers for a virtual machine? So for that, in comes the VMware tools. So VMware tools is kind of a package that VMware provides you. And this needs to be installed on every virtual machine. So every virtual machine that you create, right after the installation of the operating system, you need to deploy VMware tools. There is no question that whether you should be installing it, whether this is the right thing to do. Would I run into performance issues? Will my virtual machine be running slow? What if it clashes with my application and my application crashes in future? You do not have to think about these questions. Okay, think about it as a mandatory step. Okay, you create a VM. First step, you install the operating system. Second step, what is the third step? VMware tools. Okay, there is no question, there is no if and but, there is no possibility, there is there is no scope for any thought over here. You have to install VMware tools, period. Okay, create a VM, install the operating system. The third thing has to be always installing VMware tools. Now, if you install Windows or if you install Linux, it does not matter. You have VMware tools available for Linux, you have VMware tools available for Windows. You need to install this on whichever operating system that you are deploying, Windows or Linux. Okay. Now, I do not come from a Linux background. My knowledge on Linux is very limited. However, if you will go on Google and just type install VM tools on Linux, you will get the first link from VMware, basically talking about that how you can install the VMware tools on Linux. You just need to follow this documentation. There is a video over here as well. On this browser, it is not working, but on your browser, it should work. And they will basically tell you, just do this, whatever they are saying, and then, just basically install it. Okay. So VMware tools is absolutely
Yeah, these also
mandatory.
store in data store.
Sorry, I did not understand.
These also you can store in data store, and then you can map it and install it.
You are right, but you don't have to do that because VMware tools are already there on the ESXi. The ESXi that you install, it already has a copy of VMware tools. So on a virtual machine, all that you have to do is you have to mount the VMware tools. And basically, it gets mounted from the ESXi directly. You do not need to have a dedicated ISO for the VMware tools that you have to download from the internet, because ESXi already has a location where the tools are available. All that you have to do is that you have to mount these tools automatically on a virtual machine, and that's about it. So for you, you do not have to install VMware tools. Okay. Okay. Now my Windows 7 installation is kind of going on. A few more minutes and I should be good. Okay. And here I have a Windows 2019 installation going on. Now with Windows 7, there is a known bug. Okay. What is a known bug? Is that if you try installing VMware tools on a Windows 7 machine, you will run into an error. Okay. The solution is that you have to install an operating system update. There is a patch file that you need to install on Windows 7, and after that, the installation works okay. Okay. This is very specific to only Windows 7. For Windows 2019, you do not have to do that. A simple installation of a VMware tools works over here. Okay, so let the operating system installation get finished, and then I would quickly show you on how to basically install VMware tools. Okay, while this is going on, I want to show you one more thing. Okay, um, so let me minimize this. And what I'm going to do is that I am going to quickly, I'm going to quickly create a new ESXi, and then I want to show you, intentionally I want to do some damage over there. Okay. I would like to show you something. So this is my base machine, where I'm creating my virtual ESXi's. Okay. So let me quickly create a virtual ESXi and then show you something over here. Create a test ESXi demo. Okay, I will choose the operating system as other, choose ESXi 8, keep it on this data store. Okay, I would give 16 CPUs, give 40 GB RAM, that should be okay. 10 GB hard drive. I will keep it on this network. I will quickly map my ISO so that I begin the installation. Okay, and next and finish. I created this machine. Let me power it on. Let me proceed with the installation. Now, while the ESXi installation is going on, let me explain you something. Okay, and then I'll show you a real demo on how it works. So for example, okay, let me come over here on this Windows 7 machine. Let me proceed with the installation. So like I mentioned, for Windows 7, I need to have, so for Windows 7, like I mentioned earlier, I need to have a patch that I need to install over here. So let it quickly boot up to the operating system, and I would initiate the patch installation. Okay, so this has booted up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my VM over here, and I now need to attach the patch ISO that I have so that I can quickly install that patch. Now I want to show you something over here that right now, yes, proceed with the installation of the patch. So right now, if you would see that on my machine, there is no network card getting recognized. Why? I did have a virtual network card that I created on the virtual machine, but network card is not getting recognized. Why? Because this is a virtual network adapter and I need the drivers for it. Now the operating system that I have is not able to get the drivers for this virtual network card That is why it is not able to recognize it. So once I install this patch, after that, I need to install VMware tools. As I am installing VMware tools, you will find that one of the network drivers is getting installed. And as soon as the network driver gets installed, the network card will automatically be recognized over here. And then, instead of seeing this red X over here that you see, you will see that, the network card is now, online and everything is looking okay. It will automatically get an IP and everything. Okay. So that is why you need VMware tools, which are absolutely important. Because if you do not install VMware tools, half of the things might not work for you. Okay. Okay. Let this go on. And I'll then quickly reboot that after the patch installation is done. Now this is the regular ESXi installation that we have done earlier. I'm just going to quickly breeze through it because we have already spoke about these options yesterday. Okay, this patch installation is done. Let me restart my machine. And now I need to trigger my operating system. The installation is done. So now I need to begin my VMware tools installation. That is what I need to do. So let's wait for a minute for it to get completed. And then I'll basically begin over here. Now, while this is going on, a quick question for everyone. So let's take an example that you have a Windows machine or you have a Linux machine. Okay. So let's say this is a physical desktop that you have. On this physical desktop, let's say that you have a hard drive. Now, here you decided to install Windows. Let's say here you decided to install Windows or you decided to install Linux. And let's say this hard drive crashes. What will happen to the operating system? Will it work or will it not work?
No, it's not work.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? What do you guys think? Is it going to work for you or is it not going to work for you?
It won't work actually. Hard disk is not detecting means it won't work.
Okay. Anyone thinks, it will work? Anyone thinks that, even though if my hard drive is crashed, Windows or Linux is going to work? Okay. Yeah, it's not going to work. You guys are right that this is not going to work. Now, let me change the scenario. This is your physical machine. On this physical machine, you have a local hard drive. This is your hard drive. And here you installed ESXi. And now this hard drive crashes. On this ESXi, you have a lot of virtual machines as well. Now, what do you think what will happen to the ESXi and to these local machines? Are they going to work or are they going to die?
Still,
Sorry?
still same now. Why? Because if we install the ESXi on same hard disk,
No,
Hard
it's
disk
clear.
is
It depends on the configuration. No, if you are last time you said no, this is a failure happened the machines.
No, that's a different thing. So when the hard drive crashes, what would happen to the virtual machines and to the ESXi? That
Yeah,
is what my
but
question is.
the
Will it
virtual
work or will it die?
no, the system is still on because we are VMware is stored in the files. Okay, so multiple files are available. Only for the OS part, that will be we can recover. Or hold the hard disk crash, then the not working.
Okay, it will not be working.
Okay, only for the part of the something the operating system is crashed, then you can do.
What do others think? Come on, guys.
so,
Please unmute
sir,
yourself. Go ahead.
VMs will migrate to another host.
That comes later. Okay. My question is, will the VMs work or will they die when the hard drive crashes over here?
And whole hard drive is crashed, then nothing else.
It will die.
It will die. Okay. Anyone else? Jyoti, Jimmy, Div. I see so many of you. Santosh, Shushanta, Dinu. Come on, guys. Unmute yourself. Saad, Umar, Berkey. What do you guys think?
Can you say again?
Yeah. So you have a physical machine. On that
Mm.
physical machine, you have a hard drive. You installed ESXi on that hard drive. You created virtual machines and the hard drive crashes. This hard drive crashes over here. What will happen to the ESXi and to the virtual machines? This is the question.
The ESXi, nothing will happen because they're independent. Dependent. They're not dependent.
Okay, but will the ESXi work or will the ESXi crash?
No, it will not crash.
Why
Nothing.
would it not crash?
But the ESXi, you deployed an image and a window, right? A VM within the ESXi.
No. So think from the production point of view. Okay, let's not talk about lab. Let's think from the production point of view that you have a physical server. Let's say this is your HP server. On
Okay.
this HP server, you have got one hard drive. Okay. On this hard drive, you installed ESXi. Okay. After installing the ESXi, you decided to create few more virtual machines over here. Now, this hard drive crashes. What will happen to the ESXi and what will happen to the virtual machines? This is the question.
All are crash.
Sorry?
All are crash. There is no
All are
recovery.
crashed. Anyone
All
else?
will crash. All will crash. Yes, I agree.
Okay. I see many folks on the call. Jimmy, Jyoti, Dev, you guys there with me?
Yes, Vikas.
So what do you think? Would it work?
Yes, I think so. But there is some reason. VM should not powered off right immediately. If something will be there, then only we are using the VMware. But the exact reason I'm unable to tell. But I think it will be alive.
Okay, okay, good. Jyoti, cool. A different answer. Nice. Anyone else? ESXi will not work, but the VMs will work. Okay, that's interesting, Dev. Okay, let me tell you the answer, what it is. Okay. So let me first initiate the installation of the operating system over here, and then I'll come back to it, and I would tell you that answer, what would happen. So over here, I've installed the operating system. I installed that patch, and now I need to install VMware tools. So what I would do, I would go to Actions, and then I would go to Guest OS, and then I would go to the option over here of Install VMware tools. This is what I will do. Okay. Now here you would find that the ISO is automatically mapped. I did not map the ISO. All that I said, mount, and all that I said, install VMware tools. So this ISO automatically got mapped on the operating system. How? Because ESXi has the ISO, with it. And all it did was it basically mounted the ISO on the operating system. This is what it did. Okay. So now I just need to double click on it and proceed with the installation. Okay. Now, if let me open my command prompt over here. Okay. And let me show you something. Right now, you see that, the network card is not getting recognized, right? There is no network card because there is no drivers for the network card to get recognized. So what would happen is while I install VMware tools, you will see that, the network driver will get installed. Okay. And this will go through. So let's wait for a minute. This is still kind of going on. Okay, here comes my prompt. So all that I have to do for VMware installation, VMware tools installation, is simply keep hitting next. Okay? You don't have to make any changes. You don't have to, do anything fancy over here. Next, next, install. That's about it. Okay. Now, check this line over here. Okay, there would be a status message, that will come up over here. And you need to read the line, below this red line that I've drawn over there, you would see some messages coming up over there. Read those messages, as they flash along. Okay. So you see installing, updating, copying new files. Let this go on. You see over there, copying new files. Okay. Wait for it. You will see the installation for the drivers coming up.
Because for your question, the answer is like another ESXi, it will check the heartbeat and then it will take the missions to another ESXi.
You
The
you are right. I'll come to that. Just give me a minute, Jyoti. Okay.
yes.
So you see over here that it is installing VMCI driver, and then this will change, and then you will have another set of drivers, which will come up over here. And one of them will be VMX Net 3, and that is basically the network driver that we are referring to over here. And then you will see that the installation will begin. See, installing VMX Net 3 driver. This is the network driver which is getting installed. Okay, so right now there is no network card on my operating system. Why? Because there was no driver. Now I am installing the driver. VMX Net 3 driver is my network card driver. You see the network card gets installed. Now it is installing the SCSI driver, USB driver, mouse driver, and all these drivers are getting installed over here. Installing PS2 driver, blah, 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 audio driver, and all the other drivers in the world unit will install it now. So this is what basically a VMware tools package is. So when it comes to VMware tools, just proceed with the basic installation. And this is required on every virtual machine, be it a Windows or be it a Linux VM that you create. So this is the third step. You create a VM. Second step, you install the operating system. And the third step is that you install the VMware tools over here. Okay. Doubts, confusion, question. Okay. Now, when the operating system, when the VMware tools are installed, After that, you need to go for a reboot. Okay. So when for the very first time that you're installing VMware tools, right after the installation, go for a reboot. Okay. It would also prompt you for the same. So just say yes and proceed with the installation over here. Similarly over here, this is my Windows 2019 machine that I have, that I was configuring. So the operating system installation is done. Okay. I would log into my Windows 2019 operating system over here as well. Okay, let me change the color over here. I don't like this background. This is too flashy for the eyes. I would change it as a solid color. So now over here, again, you would see that, the network card is not getting recognized because there are no VMware tools. So again, this is a Windows 2019 operating system. I did the installation on a Windows 7 machine. You need to basically repeat yourself over here again, and you need to install the VMware, the VMware tools over here as well. So let this quickly boot up and I would show you. Okay, I will close all these Windows 2019 pop-up windows that initially come up. And now when you will go to the C drive, you will see that the operating system ISO is mounted. All that I need to do, I need to come over here, go to manage and say install VMware tools. And you see that, it removed the Windows 2019 operating system ISO and it mapped the VMware tools. Double click on it and proceed with the installation. Like we did earlier, nothing fancy over here. Okay, while this installation is going on, let me show you what happened to the Windows 7 one. Okay, so the Windows 7 installation got completed. Okay, if I take you to the add or remove programs, you would see on the Windows 7 that you have a VMware tools component which got installed over here. Okay, and you would also see over here that now you have your network card which is recognized because we installed the drivers. This is what you see now over here. So this is how you basically install a VMware tools right after installing the operating system. Okay. Now, let me answer that question for you. That earlier question that I had thrown at you guys. Let me come back to that and let me answer that question now. Okay, so to repeat myself, you have an HP server. On that HP server, you have a hard drive. On this hard drive, if you basically decide to install Windows, or if you decide to install Linux, and the operating system is up and running, everything is working okay. If this hard drive crashes, your operating system will crash. Why? Because this operating system and this one as well, they need a constant access to the hard drive. Windows and Linux as an operating system, they have been built in such a way that they need a constant access to the hard drive. Okay. If they don't have access to the hard drive, they are not going to work for you. Now, when I switch the scenario and once I install, ESXi over here, then things change over here. So what you have to do in that scenario is, let me change the scenario now. So let's say now I've installed ESXi on this hard drive, and this hard drive crashes. What would happen to the ESXi? It will continue to work. Okay. All the virtual machines that you created over here, they will continue to work. There would be no problem to the ESXi, nor to the operating system, nor to the virtual machines that you deployed. Nothing is going to happen. It will work exactly the way it is. Okay. Let me answer the question, how? Basically, what happens is, if you talk about ESXi as an operating system, how big it is? 280 MB, less than 280 MB. That is what the size of the operating system is. So if I talk about ESXi as an operating system, it is less than 280 MB. Okay. When you have a physical server, on that physical server, you have a hard drive. And on this hard drive, you install ESXi. Now, when you will power on the server, okay, when you power on the server, ESXi needs booting files. So ESXi will go to the hard drive and it will start looking for the booting files. As ESXi is reading the booting files, it is also transferring the booting files on the RAM. This is the default behavior. Okay. The default behavior is, as ESXi is booting up, reading the files from the hard drive, it is also copying them on the RAM. Okay. So even though if your hard drive crashes, all the booting files are there in the RAM. So why would your ESXi crash? Okay. Second question, what happens to the virtual machines which are running on the ESXi? What does a virtual machine needs? Virtual machine needs CPU, memory, network, and hard drive. The first three components, CPU, memory, network, are given by the ESXi. So the ESXi is still in the powered on state. It has not died, and my virtual machines are getting CPU, memory, and network. What about the hard drive? Okay. If I talk about the hard drive, I've got a SAN over here. I've got a big storage. There my hard drive is residing. Okay. So the hard drive is also available. It is not going to die
Yeah,
because
but here you
ESXi
not
has
here you
connecting.
not here you not mention the SAN. No, here you mention about the physical hardware.
That's okay. If you had, you know, okay. Even if you had a local physical hard drive, then also your ESXi will stay up. Your
Then what about the
ESXi
VM?
is, VMs are going to die if you are putting them on the local hard drive, but you don't put your VMs on the local hard drive.
But the question we did know. If we
That's
said
okay.
we are
That's fine. So over here, this is how it happens. Even though if your VM is there on the local hard drive, yeah, this local VM might have some issues because it is there on the local hard drive. But the ESXi is going to stay up. And if you remember, when I was talking about in my previous classes, I did talk about it that you have a remote storage that you connect your ESXi to. And yesterday, I showed you on how to establish the connectivity from the storage to the ESXi. And that is how I created a data store. Okay. So you
Yeah.
remember yesterday I
Open
had an
filer.
ESXi open filer, correct? So when you have open filer, then you are not having local hard drives on the ESXi. You never have local hard drives on the ESXi. So here, that is the reason your ESXi is going to stay up and your virtual machines are also going to stay up. Doubts, confusion, question on this point? It is absolutely important to keep in mind that if your hypervisor, okay, whichever hypervisor, there are many which are available in the market. Think about it. If your hypervisor is so weak that it cannot tolerate the failure of a hard drive, because here you're running production virtual machines, okay? If one hard drive failure can cause 3 virtual machines to go down, 3 production virtual machines to go down, my question is, why would you be using such a hypervisor? You basically want something in your enterprise organizations which is very redundant, which is very resilient to failures. Okay, so that is why you basically have these, this functionality wherein your ESXi, even though if the local hard drive fails, it will make sure that the hypervisor is up and running and the virtual machines are also up and running so that you don't have an impact. Okay. Now, if the hard drive is no more, then how would you reboot the ESXi? You cannot reboot the ESXi because there is no booting files. How do I fix this problem? So to fix this problem, what I would do is that I would have another ESXi in my environment and I would migrate these machines over. I will move all the virtual machines from this ESXi to another ESXi. This ESXi will become empty. There would be no virtual machines running over here. I will put this ESXi in the maintenance mode. And then basically I will get the hard drive replaced over here, install the ESXi again, do the configurations, get it back to up and running, and then it will be back added to the production. This is what you will have to do. Doubts, confusion, question, if you guys have any. Okay.
One question, sir.
Go for it.
So under which scenario does the EXI host goes down?
There could be multiple reasons though. End of the day, what is an ESXi? ESXi is a physical hardware on which you have installed an operating system. Now, the errors can be related to hardware. The power supply could have failed. There could be a RAM card failure. There could be some internal issues with the motherboard. But there could be something else, on the hardware because of which the hardware is not responding. On the software side of things, there could be a bug. There could be a driver mismatch issue because of which your OS has crashed. Okay. So this could be a reason that, why your ESXi has gone down. Okay. Over here in this scenario that I was explaining earlier, only my hard drive crashed. All the hardware, all the operating system, everything else is all okay. Only issue that I have is only the hard drive failure. So if I have only the hard drive failure, then my ESXi and the operating systems and the virtual machines that I was running over here, they will keep on working as it is. Okay with you, Kaushal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else has any questions that I can answer for you? Okay. So coming back over here, I want to show you a demo. Okay. Now I've intentionally created a ESXi. Now I named this ESXi intentionally as a demo because yeah, I'm going to kill this ESXi. Now this ESXi has an IP from the DHCP that it took. Okay. Now if I take you over here, let me enter that IP. And this is the IP of my ESXi. We discussed yesterday that why this warning message is coming up. And here I would log in as a root and I would put the password, which is welcome@123, the default password that we have been using in the lab. And let me initiate a ping over here. So for example, I'll initiate a ping 10.10.9300. Yeah. This is the IP 10.10.9300. I am responding to this IP and I can access this IP also over the UI. Now, intentionally, I am going to remove the hard drive. Now, if it was a physical machine, it would have been very hard for me to remove the hard drive. But this is a virtual machine, so very conveniently, I can remove the hard drive. So you see this 10 GB hard drive, I'll simply say delete the files. Okay. And this is, I would hit the OK button. Now, if I take you back, on this demo machine that I have, you would see that I have a CPU, memory, some SCSI controller, some SATA controller, USB controller, network card, CD card, video card, and that's about it. Where is the hard drive? I've removed it right now. There is no hard drive. Okay. Because my ESXi did boot up, because during the boot, like I mentioned earlier, when the ESXi boots up, all the booting files are transferred to RAM. So all the booting files are right now for this ESXi running in the RAM. Okay. So even though if I remove the hard drive, my ping is still working. Okay. On the UI, you see that this is accessible. I can change the console. I can go to a different tab and I can, it still works. If I even log out from here and if I try logging back in, it works. Though you would definitely see a message over here that you have lost connectivity. Why? Because there is no local hard drive available now. And that is why you see this message over here that, there is no local hard drive over here.
The machine will be running until reboot, correct?
Absolutely right. So this will keep on working until and unless you reboot the ESXi. Of course, when you reboot the ESXi, at that point of time, it is going to look for the hard drive again, and it needs that booting files again. Okay, so till the time the ESXi is up, it will keep on working. If you get this message, so it is very important that now you migrate the VMs over, and then you can take the maintenance of this physical box and you can get it to work. Doubts, confusion, question on this point? Okay. Now here, even installing Windows 2019, I installed the VMware tools over here and I rebooted my Windows 2019. Let this go through. Okay. So you would see that when it comes to the VMware tools installation, I can install VMware tools on a Windows 7. I can install it on a Windows 2019. So be it a client operating system or be it an enterprise operating system, VMware tools are basically required on every operating system that you install. If it's a Linux Red Hat 5, it's a Linux Red Hat 9, CentOS 7, 8, whatever the operating system is, You need to install VMware tools. There is no ifs and buts. Should I do that or should I not do that? You don't have to do that. Okay. Just install the VMware tools. Okay.
One more thing, in this scenario, if we are rebooting the VMs, not ESXi, then VM will come up.
Yes,
Yes.
because like I explained earlier, where are the VMs residing? If you talk about a virtual machine needs four components, no? CPU, memory, network, and hard drive. The first three components are given by the ESXi. Okay, the ESXi on which the virtual machine is running, these three components will be given by the ESXi, and the hard drive resides on a data store, which is there on the ESXi. And what is the data store? Data store is mapping to the physical storage that you have. That is where you have the mapping. So the virtual machines will also continue to work because they have CPU, memory, network, hard drive, whatever you need.
And my second question is whether impact can we restore the ESXi?
No, I mean, you need to understand that you have to get the hard drive replaced. You have a faulty hard drive.
Yes.
To get the hard drive replaced, I am very sure that you will have to power down your server, open up the box, and get the hard drive replaced, right? This is something that you will have to do. So you need to power down the machine. So when you power down your machine and when you get the hard drive replaced, then you have a raw hard drive. On the raw hard drive, you need to install ESXi. I mean, if you want to script it or if you want to do something else, that's a different story. But you need to install the ESXi. After the installation of the ESXi, you have to do the configuration changes. There are a lot of configuration changes that you have to do. Now, these configuration changes can be automated. And there is something called as host profile. Host profile is a functionality wherein you can automate the configuration side of things. How we will do that? This is something that I will tell you in the course. We have a complete section on host profiles talking about what it is, how it works, and how you can get it to work. So this is something that we will be talking about it.
Okay. And what about the other VMs,
When you say other VMs, can you please elaborate? I did not get your question.
which is then using the memory CPUs from the ESXi?
So what about those VMs? Those VMs will keep on working, no? So you have a ESXi,
Yeah,
okay?
but right now we are shut down the ESXi, no? If we replace the hardware, the
So I told
hard
you,
disk.
no, that, yeah. So you remember I told you that these virtual machines, we will migrate to another ESXi.
That's what different, the failure options will be available.
Not the failover options, the live migration, vMotion.
Okay.
So when these VMs are powered on, while powered on, I can migrate the VM from one ESXi to another ESXi with zero downtime. Okay, you as an end user will not have any idea that what happened in the background. So for example, if this was a Windows machine and you took an RDP of this Windows machine, okay, you are working from the operating system side of things. You will not get to know that what happened to this VM in the background. And in the background, I can migrate the VM from one ESXi to another ESXi. And you as an end user who has taken RDP of this machine, you will have no clue that what happened in the background. So this is what a vMotion is. So I do not have to bring down the VMs. I will migrate the VMs live from one ESXi to another ESXi. Then on this ESXi, I will do maintenance and get it back to work. Do you get the point, Dinesh?
Yeah,
Any other questions, buddy, you have?
nothing.
Okay, cool. All right. Allow me a minute. Okay. So when you install the VMware tools on a enterprise operating system, uh, let me log in and show you over here as well. So you would see VMware tools is installed. You have the network adapter, which is already recognized. If you have DHCP in your environment, it will automatically pick up an IP. And if you have access to the internet, you should be able to pick internet as well. Okay. So this is how you install VMware tools, get things working, and then you can set up the connectivity. Any questions anyone has? Okay. Now, there is one last thing that I would like to talk about. You might have heard about Broadcom acquisition. That there is a company called Broadcom that's a huge organization. You would have heard about it. Now, this company acquired VMware. Okay, so they are basically the boss for VMware. Okay. Now they've made some licensing changes in VMware. I would like to now highlight that what are the new licensing changes. Earlier, till the time this was not announced, we had a different licensing mechanism altogether. Okay. So now there are new licensing changes that have been done. So when we begin with our course, I will be talking about all these things that, what these licensing changes are and how you need to cope about it. So we will be covering the latest changes as well. It is not only that, we are covering the things which have been going on for the last year, but whatever the new changes as latest as last week, that have been done, we will be talking more about it as well. Okay. So that brings me to the end of the technical training. And now I would like to hand over to Riaz to take it further from here. Hey, Riaz, all yours. Thank you.
Hey, hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hi. I will hand over this mic to Ms. Feroza. She is marketing and sales head, and she will give some offer.
Good evening, participants. I'm Sales and Marketing Head of CDP Networks. I would like to let you all know that VMware vSphere 8.0 is now available for pre-booking at an exclusive price of 10,000 rupees or $150 for international participants. This offer is valid only until March 23rd, and it is reserved for the first 10 candidates who seize the chance. When you enroll today, not only do you secure access to VMware vSphere 8.0, but with your purchase, you gain access to recorded videos covering on any one topic like CCNA, AWS Cloud Practitioner, AWS Solution Architect, or Palo Alto PCNSE. It's a buy one get access to one that you won't find elsewhere. Reserve your spot now using our convenient Google form. Moreover, if you refer any candidate to us, we will reward you with a 10% discount in your future training. Lastly, a gentle reminder, all payments must be made through the secure channels provided by CDP Networks website. Your security and convenience are our top priorities. So seize the opportunity. Enroll now. Thank you.
Thanks, Vikas, for today's training. We are looking forward to just joining us, and just request you to please fill the Google form. So our sales guy will definitely contact with you or offer you a good discount. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.